Welcome to the Superfacts Show on the Superfacts Network, featuring St. Laz, who also hosts the popular web series Gem Pop, and music journalist Mark Walter Ward. They have discussions about hip hop, culture, society, philosophy, and everything else. Now available on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts. What up, world? It's a Superfacts Show. Your boy Mark Walter Ward. We got a special guest tonight from the 40 Central podcast, James Motivates. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, bro.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I see you're the proverbial. Well, I'm gonna call you a jack of all trades because I guess you're a master of a few. But going over, you got quite the impressive bio. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know what a licensed financial agent is. What exactly does that entail?
I mean, that's a great question. I actually just got licensed for the state of New York last week. I passed the test. Long story short, the role of my license is to help people set up a foundation for financial success. That's the main job, and is to teach financial literacy to people. And for me in particular, I love to teach in my community because a lot of people that come from neighborhoods that I come from don't know anything about money. So I help people start mutual funds. I help people learn about stocks. I help people get life insurance. I help people save for retirement, and basically just building a financial house that will set you up for a better success and a better chance of obtaining wealth.
Well, that sounds benevolent. What's a predatory financial agent look like?
I mean, a predatory financial agent, that's a good question, is to me somebody who doesn't care about your well-being. Somebody who's just looking to make the commission. Say, for example, if I'm somebody who's trying to sell you life insurance, I'll sell you a policy that doesn't help you. It doesn't help your family, God forbid something was to happen to you. That's predatory. When you're not doing it for care, you're doing it for profit. And I think for me personally, like I lead with care. If I'm going to try to sell you something and I know it's something that could be beneficial to you and your family, I'm going to make sure that it's going to be the best possible insurance policy that fits your budget.
You said helping your community and coming from where are you from?
I'm from the Bronx, New York. I grew up Throsnick Projects, also known as the 40 block. Hence the name 40 Central. That's the nickname for our neighborhood. And that's where I grew up, born and raised.
Okay. How close is that to Red Hook?
Brooklyn, and if you're driving, I think at least 45 minutes. Train, you're looking at 2 hours. It's two different worlds.
How about Brownsville?
Brownsville, driving probably like 20, 25. I used to teach in Brownsville. So it was like a 20, 25-minute drive. Same thing as the train, about 2 hours because it's MTA. So everything takes on when you take the train.
Now, this question is going to be a little presumptive because I don't know if you ever get resentful. You seem to have a pretty positive energy, but I assume that you're a human being. When they discuss areas where there's economic blight in America, do you ever feel resentful that the Bronx isn't mentioned? Because in portions of the Bronx, I mean, the Bronx is still burning. It might not be on fire, but I mean, you already know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, food deserts, abandoned vacant buildings, I mean, everything bad that you could want in a community.
Absolutely. Me personally, I don't care what people think. I don't care about the statistics. I don't care about whether they're mentioning us on CNN. At the end of the day, we know what's going on. And there's plenty of places that are just like the Bronx all around this country that don't get the time on CNN or NBC or anything like that. So it's up to the people that know what's going on to do something. And we can't keep crying for help. If we know that there's something that needs to be done, we need to be the ones to do it. The people who have the means, the people that are in the communities, the people who left the communities that still know what's going on, that may not be living up in the Bronx anymore, but you know what's up. So if you were from any impoverished neighborhood, if you know what's going on in this, I think it's your obligation to do something if you have the means to do it.
It's funny. We're just coming out of Black History Month, and if you look through the main voices, the people who've had the most effect as leaders in the Black community throughout the history of Black people being in this country, almost all of them stress the need for economic empowerment, especially those who got silenced. I don't think enough get, God bless Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech and everything, but I wish that some of his economic views were more publicized.
I mean, that's up to us. It's not even.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the school system ain't gonna teach you, and that's white, black, poor. Only rich people learn financial shit in school. Like it don't matter where you can be in Appalachia, you ain't learning about no fixed rate floating interest in high school, none of that shit. No elective, no nothing.
Yeah, bro, it's like.
But yeah, but I'm talking about just in general, from the meme culture to people talking on YouTube, even the documentarians. I just wish somebody like Martin Luther King had revolutionary ideas about financial empowerment that just don't get discussed enough.
Facts. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many other Martin Luther Kings out there that people don't know about, bro. It don't, like, Martin Luther King is just one person. There were so many people before him. There's so many people after him that had that same mindset about economic empowerment. He was just the one that put it on the forefront. But he was just one person. There was plenty of people that are doing the same thing, discussing the same things, putting in the same amount of effort, the same amount of work. He was just famous. That was the only difference between him and a lot of other revolutionaries. He had fame behind him. But that doesn't mean that because he's not here that the conversation doesn't stop. I mean, that the conversation stops. We got to keep it going. And it's not just conversations. It got to be followed by action.
Now, you got to forgive me because I didn't listen to the episode. I just saw it on your Instagram. So on the 40 Central show, you had an episode about, was he the greatest African-American leader ever?
Yeah, and my point behind that was to.
Well, what was the verdict first?
Oh, me personally, yes, I think so. Just because of, like you said, he was about economic empowerment. But the way his story is told in public schools, per se, is that I Have a Dream speech. That was the beginning and the end of Martin Luther King. But it was so much more than that. And his words were not just words, they were followed by action. So he helped founded different programs. He helped start different programs. He spoke about economic empowerment. He lived by economic empowerment. He knew and he took accountability for the idea of we need to integrate, in the sense of that was going to be the key to success. That was going to take Black people over the hump. And he saw that once, even though Black people got integration, that it was deeper than that. Like, no, like, we need access to banks. We need access to adequate healthcare. We need access to be able to fund any idea.
No redlining at that point.
Exactly. And this is what he wanted to do. But if you let the storytellers tell it and you let the media tell it, then it's just, I have a dream. He was born, I have a dream, boom, he dies the next day. That's the story of Martin Luther King.
Yeah, yeah. So what were some of the other names floated about or discussed?
I mean, you're gonna have Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, Marcus Garvey, Huey P. Newton, the Black Panther movement, the SNCC program.
Damn, I disagree with all y'all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, who would you say?
Nat Turner.
Why Nat Turner?
You can't duplicate that. I mean, the famous, I can't remember who said it about a comedy routine where everybody say that if you was back then, you'd be like, hell no, I ain't doing that shit. And that, well, he really, I mean, how much more revolutionary can you get?
I mean, that's real.
And then, like, when you define a leader, right, part of it has to be the ability to motivate people. And let's take it to sports. Advanced metrics. There weren't too many people who in slavery who had the ability to lead other slaves in actual revolt. So just the fact that's almost impossible. So, like, his ceiling, of leadership is just, to me, unapproachable. And I would like to think that if I was in that situation, I'd have the heart to do the same thing.
No, that's real. I would still disagree with that, though. I'm going to go with MLK because he made systematic changes that still affect us to this day. It wasn't popular to have conversations with the president. You would be called a sellout. He sat in the White House and got laws changed that just didn't benefit Black people, but it benefited the country as a whole. You're talking about the Civil Rights Law. I mean, the Civil Rights Act. That's systematic in print, in fine print that you can go find in a public library. That has to do. I mean, I'm sorry, a law library that affects us to this day. I can't think of, and I could be wrong on this because I'm not a historian, but I can't think of a leader, especially in modern American history, that created real systematic change. A lot of people have inspired, a lot of people have motivated, a lot of people have marched, a lot of people have died.
The last one I can think of is Marion Barry.
Okay.
Because everybody in my generation, the first job they ever had, they got from Marion Barry. He guaranteed every DC youth a summer job. He's known for that crack shit, right? But like, what's really not known is that wasn't. I mean, yeah, he did go choose to smoke crack and everything, but that was an assassination attempt on a strong black leader. Because this isn't any conspiracy theory shit. Go look up the news reports if anybody doubts me. The cocaine was provided by the girl who set him up. It was 95% pure crack rock, which is almost fucking unheard of. As a matter of fact, it is unheard of. It's just that don't happen. That even if he was a frequent crack user, that would be an extremely high amount, more than he. It's likely a man of his age could have hit that rock and died. And they had paramedics on scene, and there's no other sting in law enforcement history that's been made known, and documentarians have researched this, where they gave somebody a quantity of drugs to the point that they anticipated them needing immediate emergency medical treatment at the time.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know that story.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Damn.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's an interesting debate. I mean, it really all comes down to, like, what do you know?
Really, all that matters is who's the next great one that ain't gonna get killed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that's true. I think we got plenty of great people that's out right now. I don't think we need a one. I just think we need. I think we need for the people who are in their neighborhoods to just do the work. And I think everybody just has to chip in. I don't think we need one person to lead everybody, because then that just makes it seem like everybody thinks the same. And that's not true. You can have multiple leaders. You can have local leaders. You can have national leaders. You can have international leaders. But as long as everybody's just doing their part is what I'm trying to say.
Speaking of everybody doing their part and the Martin Luther King thing, it ain't for me to say what black people need, but one thing I know is that black people don't need white people telling them what they need.
That's fair.
But
that's fair.
One thing that Martin Luther King said, that table of brotherhood, when it comes to the ally shit, I wish a leader would come along, regardless of any race, that could unite poor people across the country to band together to improve the lot of economic disempowered. Because definitely there's an additional challenge that comes with being black in America, specifically depending on where you're located at, that does not exist for any other race.
I mean, that's true.
But the problems that poor people face are across the board. And it's ridiculous that we've allowed a bunch of billionaires who literally own and control the media companies, the content we consume, make all of us poor people think that we're all enemies of each other. And actually, in efficacy, have made large segments of poor people enemies of each other. Because who are those people fighting at voting sites for the most part? People that's probably below, the poverty line. Regardless of who's right or wrong morally, that's who's fighting.
Yeah.
And they're fighting for the right for a billionaire to control the defense budget.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think you hit a lot of good points. The way I see it is that at the end of the day, you got to control what you can control. You can't, at least in my opinion, you can't go out there and try to change the minds of everybody, because everybody is not going to think like you. So some people may see America as a big race issue. Some people may see it as a big wealth distribution issue. Some people may just see it as a rich versus poor issue. Like, there's so many different ways in which you can analyze the context of America. But at the end of the day, like, just the way I see it is that you got to control what you can control. Like, at the end of the day, this is capitalism. That's never going to change.
Right.
This is capitalism. This is a country where you can get as much as you can try it, as much as you can, if you know what you're doing. The education part is the key. At the same time, there is racism, there is sexism. All the isms exist. I'm not trying to disregard that. But at the end of the day, control what you can control and gain as much as you can, because that is the goal of capitalism, to gain as much as you can. And once you lose sight of that, that's when the problems still stay the same, because of economic empowerment. That's what Dr. King died for. That's capitalism at its essence.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, shit, they paid somebody to do it, right?
There you go.
So let me ask you this. So basically what I take from you is you're saying make your own bed, then clean your room, then fix your house up, then help your neighbor, then help the block, the street, whatever type of, then help the city, then help. So, I will actually let me rephrase this a little bit. What do you think is the biggest financial misnomer that people who are less than fully financially literate, what's the biggest mistake they make that hurts them? Is it signing up for the credit cards with the high interest rates, the predatory loans?
I think the biggest misconception or the biggest problem is that people don't think that they can attain wealth. Just because you're poor, that doesn't mean you have to die poor. You just have to know what you're doing. You can have
legally,
yeah, of course, yeah. I'm glad you clarified that.
Well, a lot of guests are gangster rappers on here, bro. We done had Yuckmouth and Fraser Boy in the last week. You know what I mean?
Oh, word? That's what's up. That's what's up. Okay, but yeah, but I think that a lot of people don't believe that they can attain wealth, and I think people have a misconception that rich and wealth are the same thing. Like, you could be rich and not be wealthy,
right?
And you could be wealthy and, I'm not going to say not be rich, but you could be wealthy and have your money working for you in that pursuit of being financially rich and independent, if that makes sense. Right. So like right now, like, I'm not a millionaire, but I have my finances set into a place where after a certain amount of time, I know I'm going to obtain wealth. I know I'm going to have my money working for me, and I know I'm going to be able to be in a position where I'm not going to have to work for money unless I choose to. That's wealth. When you're able to choose whether or not you have to work for money, that's when you're wealthy. When you have your money working for you, that's wealthy. Rich, I could have $1 million and be considered rich, but I could blow that on I can't even buy a jet. I buy 4 or 5 cars and my $1 million is gone because I'm buying depreciating assets. So I think once we understand that wealth is obtainable, no matter where you start, if you know what you're doing, then you could be on the pursuit of wealth. And that's why I became a financial services agent, to teach people.
So right into that, what is Free Tuition Tuesday?
Free Tuition Tuesday for me is basically just giving out free game. I try to record every Tuesday. I haven't been doing it lately because I've been having to take care of some other things for the podcast. But before I stopped, the basic essence was just give people free game. How to start a mutual fund, how to do this, how to do that. I forgot the first one that I did, but every week I was just trying to teach people something new. Like whatever I learned from school, if I learned something and I think that it could be useful information, I'll just share it. Education shouldn't be something that you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for. You need one person, you send one person from the neighborhood to go get the knowledge and spread it to the community. Everybody gets their free education at that point. But
so,
go ahead.
So right now I'm stuck at year 11 at Walmart or Amazon or whatever, you fill in the blank. And I got the typical American bills, lifestyle, and all that good stuff. What would you recommend would be the most cost-effective way for me to create a new revenue stream that could help get me out of that? I mean, I view that shit as torturous.
Mm-hmm. Like the 9 to 5, you mean it's torturous?
Well, specifically, all the people working, how now you're not really. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to have careers anymore. They have the opportunity to have jobs.
Yeah, no, that's real. If I'm sitting across somebody and they're in that situation, I would first ask them.
So I'm talking about people stuck in like retail and warehouses and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just about like if I'm stuck in a warehouse and I'm like, yo, I want to become financially independent. My first thing is to let's look at what you're buying versus what you're saving. Let's first look at that. Let's get your basic finances in order, right? Let's look at your balance sheet. Let's look at, you're making $1,200. Let's just say you're making $4,000 a month, but you're spending $2,000 on nothing, on things you don't need, or you're going out and spending a bunch of money every weekend, you're smoking, you're drinking, you're partying. We got to cut all most of that out, most of it, because you can still have your fun and whatever, but we got to be disciplined. We got to understand that we're not living for a weekend anymore. We're living to obtain this wealth. And once we're able to switch that mindset, it's like, okay, we could take out the fluff from the things that we're spending. We could take that out, and now we could take some of that money and invest it. Or we could take some of that money and put it towards whatever dream that you want to have. Whether you want to be a podcaster, singer, dancer, business owner, we're going to set some money aside from all the nonsense that you were spending on, and we're going to put it towards that. And eventually, with patience and discipline, you'll reach whatever it is that you're trying to reach. It's not that difficult. That's the thing. Like we think it's so hard and it's unattainable, but it's just patience and discipline and knowledge. With
Yeah, the whole world learned what a stock short was in like 18 hours.
Exactly. From that whole thing with what was that, on Reddit or something like that?
Yeah, Reddit, GameStop, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's just knowledge. That's all that is. Knowledge. Knowledge is the key. Education is the key. Once you know how to do it, nobody has sympathy if you don't make it anymore.
So it's safe to say that you're knee deep in this. You do have some experience already in educating people in these matters, right?
Yeah. So after.
Well, what I was gonna ask you is specifically, what do you do when you're failing to break through, or somebody's plateauing in some shape, form, or fashion, and just not getting it?
I believe that, and I tell this specifically for teachers, just because I'm talking with a student or just because I'm talking with somebody that's trying to educate them doesn't mean that I'm the one that's supposed to break through to them. I believe that everything happens for a reason. So maybe I say, look, you may want to try this, and you don't do it. And that's fine. But maybe that'll be in the back of your mind, and then your friend or one of your closest friends says the same thing, and it'll click. Because, oh, I remember such and such said this, and now my best friend is saying the same thing. Let me try this, because maybe I should take this seriously. So if I'm talking to somebody and they're feeling discouraged and they don't want to hear what I'm saying, I don't take any personal ill will. I let them go. Okay, maybe I'm not the one that's supposed to be the change for you or inspire you to make that change. Maybe I'm just here to plant the seed.
So when we were talking about if we were gonna do this podcast and what we were gonna talk about, you said we could talk about music, politics, sports, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So politically, I'm sure you're probably not really aware of who I am. I've been to prison and all that shit.
Okay.
Was an addict, got into fitness, started blogging because I was a huge hip hop fan growing up, like the type of cat that read everywhere. I even read like the independent artist part of the Chairman Mao part of the source and shit. Okay. And I became a rap blogger and worked my way up to a rap journalist, and did pretty good at that before the ceiling, journalism, the money went away.
Mm-hmm.
So point being, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, I don't know how real the effectiveness of the presidency is anyway. I don't know if that's some, up here shit while this is going on. But, I went to prison because of mandatory sentencing. So I feel some type of way about Joe Biden. And then, I'm all for people of color getting positions they've never had before, or women to show, younger people that that's a possibility, or just because I want to live in a society where there's a level playing field. But that being said, as somebody who's been in prison and all that shit, I ain't too hip to people who lie to cover up evidence that would get somebody off of death row.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about the Biden-Harris presidency?
I think that I don't believe in symbolic victories. I don't think symbolic victories are something that's beneficial to the American people. Just because you're Black, that don't mean you deserve the position. The best person who's fit for it deserves a position. That's just what I believe. I understand.
Well, see, that's where the systemic racism, I don't think the people understand, the people that don't believe in it. The systemic racism part is that sometimes, depending on what community you're from, you don't have access to the tools and the resources to make you deserving of the job.
But see,
it's like, for instance, well, I'll give you an example, bro. I'm
Mm-hmm.
from PG County, like right over the line in DC, right? And it was mad cats I went to school with and they went to college, and not the ones that had sports scholarships, but regular students. And these was cats that was making like 3.8s and shit in our high school, right? But when they get to college, they got to do those math and English assessment tests. And now they're taking like these remedial classes that you don't even get credit for. And they never learn how to write a college paper. And a lot of them end up leaving 2 or 3 years in. They've only gotten like 8, like this is anecdotal, like I know like 8 or 9 of my closest friends who, and they got this big ass debt from 3 years because they didn't quite qualify for Pell Grants and shit. And they didn't have the tools just in that one particular instance of not being able to write a college level paper, which, this is Maryland, right? So it's pretty safe to say that if you came from Fairfax County, which is a more economically, a richer white county right across in Virginia, that you're coming out of those high schools without ability. So, I mean, sometimes that's the systemic racism, is that you don't have the tools to compete on an equal playing field. And then so much of your life is dictated by what happens when you're young. And those are where like there's the most distinct lack of those tools and the ability to autonomously get it.
Oh, absolutely. You hit it right on the nail. But at the same time, nobody cares about what situation you're born in. I mean, nobody has sympathy for that. Word. In America, you either gonna get it or you're not. It's eat or be eaten. It's really that simple. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate it because we throw, like, say, for example, systematic racism, which I hear you on that. But at the same time, it's like, bro, like, I grew up in the projects. Like, I'm living next door to people that every day, when they're talking about all this shit that's happening on TV, we need to stop the murder rates and crime and all that shit. When you living in a community like this, you living next to the same people that they're talking about, right? And they don't have sympathy for that. So now either you're gonna do what you need to do to get out of that situation, or you're gonna be stuck there. There's no systematic racism isn't gonna come save you. Whoever made that word, that person not gonna come save you. Yeah, you gotta get up and get it on your own.
Yeah, there ain't no way getting a systemic racism check. And just like I say, I ain't never get my white privilege check.
Exactly. So now, with that being said, I forgot the question that you asked about Kamala. Okay, Kamala and Joe Biden. I feel like for the most part, that was a symbolic victory. And I think that a lot of people they voted because they hated Trump, and they didn't vote because they loved Joe Biden and Kamala. And I think that in and of itself is a big problem. Because if that's how you feel, then I think, me personally, you're better off just voting for a third party. Don't vote against someone and vote for, or don't vote for somebody just to get somebody else out of office. Because if you don't understand, like, how Joe Biden did the crime bill, the 94 crime bill, and participated with the crack laws, like, these are things that affect our community today. There was an exercise that when I used to be an 8th grade history teacher, there was an exercise that I would do with all my students at some point in the school year. I would say, raise your hand if you either know somebody, ever been, or have a direct relative that has ever been to prison. And every single time I do that exercise, 99% of my class raises their hand. And they didn't even fathom that, how the prison industrial complex is so embedded in our community and how it affects us so much, because it's just a part of our everyday lives. And the people who implemented those laws are now in office. Like,
do you know that no society ever really tried long-term incarceration before America?
Yeah.
This is like less than a 300-year-old experiment.
Yeah. And I think we might be top 5 amongst all, like, developed countries for, like, the most people in prison or something like that.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And I think
I'm sure you don't know personally, because I mean, you don't strike me as a guy who's been to prison before. But bro, most of the people in that shit is addicts and people with mental problems, especially in medium and minimums.
Exactly. And then those people need help.
Yeah.
Help. That's what we need to do with those. Help them. We don't lock them in a cage for years and then expect them to be productive citizens of society as soon as they come out, with no type of guidance or a transition program or anything like that. No, like, these are people too. and they need
That's
help.
what the problem with these elections, bro. They just talking what sounds good at the time, but they don't think about these downstream consequences. Like how many of these homeless people that's in California and all these places, how many of them you think might have got some mandatory minimum sentence, never got any skills, and ended up on the street because they can't get a job because they got a felony on their record, and 15 years later, if I was homeless, and I'd take my ass to California too.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And it's like it's so sad, man, especially with the whole election thing and how that happened. And I feel like people were so happy to just give Trump the boot, and they didn't even take time to acknowledge, like, did he do anything positive? Like, for the people who voted for Biden and Harris, I asked them, well, what do they have to offer you that Trump didn't? What you gonna say? Just Trump was just a bad guy. He was a racist. That's your opinion, if that's how you feel. But now let's look at some of the things that he passed. Let's look at some of the things Joe Biden has passed. Let's just look at the facts. Let's get the emotional attachments out the window. I understand where they're coming from, but let's just get that out the window. And let's just look at the numbers and the facts. And when you do that, the decision will be a lot easier.
Well, let me ask you what you think of this thing. Here's a fact. You know, those Dr. Seuss books, you know, they pulled their copyright, which has never happened before. Like it's never been used, weaponized, if you would, depending on how you look at it, in such a manner. And you know, the one truth, you know, what I say all the time, I say to white America, all these harsh sentencing laws you pass because you're scared of the black boogeyman over here, the Latino boogeyman over there, one day it's gonna come get your son. And these banning of these books, right? Let's say, and I'm not going to judge what's offensive or not. If someone chooses to be offended by someone by something and they feel that way truly, that's their right. You know, if it offends you, it offends you. You know, it ain't for me to say who should be tough or not, you know, like on any subject. So I don't know nothing about that. But let's say we extend this to, you know, obviously the N-word can be used very, very offensively. So let's say we take Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn away because, you know, there's a character who unfortunately has the N-word in his name. Okay, fair enough. You know, some people don't want to read that, it'll upset them. You know, I get it. But so, again, just like when America came for me and took me to prison, what if they then go for black people who use the N-word? And what if they take away rap music?
And
that shit scares me. Does that sound like a realistic possibility, or not a likely possibility? Like, do I sound like a nut job saying that shit, or is that something that could potentially happen?
No, I think it's something that could definitely happen. Once you start the whole idea of censoring somebody because people feel offended, anybody could use the term offended and say, I just say you just said something right now that was offensive. And I can say that. And if we're going to use that alone, somebody's feelings of feeling offended to censor somebody, it opens the floodgates for anybody to be censored, and it's going to start with hip hop. It's already started with hip hop. Look what happened with Meek Mill. They trying to censor him right now. Like, he said something about like Kobe or something like that, and I'm gonna go out with my chopper like Kobe, and people was hitting him like, oh, I'm offended because I'm a Kobe Bryant fan, blah blah blah. And my thing is, I'm like, if you understand hip hop, this has been happening forever. Lines like that have been happening forever, where they're making references to somebody who has passed away.
Remember Eminem said, I hit more trees than Christopher Reeves?
Yo, exactly. Like, this has been happening forever, but now we live in this cancel culture. So anytime somebody feels offended, they think that they could just say something and get somebody out of here. And once
as a white man, if I push back into cancel culture at all, I'm racist or labeled racist.
No.
I mean, I don't agree with that either.
No.
You know, like the ACLU was founded defending the KKK because they understand how important free speech is. Liberals, you know, one thing that scares me about liberals, like not liberal voters, but the liberal establishment, is that you know, they're big into gun control. And the one thing I know about gun control is I don't know what's right or wrong. I don't know if they was talking about muskets and that shouldn't apply to machine guns. You know, I ain't fucking Tony Stark and shit. but I do know that all of the gun control laws in America that were originally were instituted to keep black people from having guns.
Mhm.
And when a big tenet of your party is a platform that was historically used to put black people in prison and to disarm black people, that worries me.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody should be worried. Like I was saying with defending the freedom of speech, we take away from one person, that's the invitation to take away from everybody. You take away guns from black people, that's an invitation to take guns away from white people. It's all about it.
Well, that's what and that's what happened. And so that's
exactly
why everybody who passes all these laws, if it's aimed at a specific group, it will never stay that way. It will eventually be it becomes a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And if you invent a hammer to whoever invented a hammer, for whatever the reason he invented that hammer for, either somebody saw him and made their own hammer, or he put that hammer down and someone else picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
And someone will always pick up the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And special interest groups got to stop creating fucking hammers that's going to end up hitting us all in the head eventually.
Yeah, and people don't understand the importance. I don't think, you know what it is? I think people don't really, and this is why people need to study the world and not just America. People don't understand how valuable free speech and the right to bear arms is, because they've never been to a country where, or never studied a country where there is no free speech and there is no, I can carry a gun if I feel like it. People don't understand that there are countries where if you speak about the person in power, they run into your house and they kill you.
Yeah.
Will kill you because you cannot speak bad about somebody who's in power in certain countries.
A lot too, and not no little number. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like this is like America's like not normal. Like that's
right.
what people don't understand.
Yeah, like what you're saying is the majority of the world.
Exactly. And it's like, but we are brought up to believe like the rest of the world is like this. And I think that is a big problem. Again, going back to education, like if you don't know, then you're gonna just take whatever you have as the norm. Like so, like when I was growing up, I grew up in the Bronx. Like I'm thinking the Bronx or New York City in general is normal. Like I'm thinking every store has every state has a corner store, or everybody has buildings that go up 50 stories. Like no, like where New York City is abnormal. This is not
it is,
America.
man. New York City institutionalizes you, bro. Because I've lived all over the South, like Miami, Houston, whatever, right? And every time a New York motherfucker moves to the neighborhood I lived in, they start sitting in front of the building for at least 4 months, about 6 hours a day, because they got that stupid shit institutionalized.
That's real. That's what we do. That's what we do. And we think that, like going back to what we were saying, like we think that America is the norm, and it's not. It's really not.
I mean, that being said, this motherfucker could use some improvement.
Yo, for real.
I mean, we should always be striving to make everything better.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean that we take away from the things that are already working.
Right.
Right? Like the freedom of speech is working. Right to bear arms is working. Like I have now the ability to protect myself, right, against tyranny because I have the right to bear arms. You take that away, right? And now let's say there's somebody who's out there that really doesn't like black people, right? Really doesn't like it. I don't have the right to defend myself if you take that law away, right? So it's like, and that could be somebody that looks like me. That's not even saying that the person has to be of a different race.
Right.
But if there's somebody out there that just doesn't like me for who I am, I have to be able to defend myself.
Yeah.
And that's why when people go out there and they say like, oh, we need to fight for this and say this and speak and speak on this. And I'm like, that's cool, but do you even have the right to defend yourself if any of these words come back to haunt you?
Man, that's profound, bro. Man, we getting too deep with it, man. They're gonna say we part of the intellectual dark web.
Nah, man, we just chopping it up, bro. This. I love doing stuff like this. I appreciate you for having.
Oh, no doubt. But I did want to get into some of the lighter things. So, I know it's cliche, but I find you get a lot of the best answers. So I want to do some either ors with you.
Okay.
So you said music and sports. So I would assume that you probably have a well-rounded taste in sports. Like, do you know about NBA?
Yeah. Come on, man. Like I said, I'm from New York. I'm a 6'1" black man. Of course.
Right. But if I said that and got aggregated,
bro, what we just talk about freedom of speech?
Word.
Say what you got to say, bro.
So are you up on boxing?
Yeah. I like boxing.
Like more classic though.
I'm not.
I mean, not super classic. I'm talking like, let's say like the Tyson era up to about 2010.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, I stopped paying attention to boxing like that when the Klitschko's, because them shits used to be boring as shit.
I mean, shit. They ran the league though. I mean,
Oh yeah, I mean, shit. So if that's what I had to do to get $10 million fights, I'd be fighting like that too. Shit, I don't blame nobody for what they do to win $1 million contest.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? But shit, man, it's got so many shit. Nets or Knicks?
Nets or Knicks? I'm gonna go.
Not who's better. Who do you like better?
I like the Knicks better because the Knicks have been here for longer. The Nets is like the hot, sexy new girl that just came in town, but the Knicks is like that fine wine woman that's like, all right, she may be a little older, but she still got it.
Did you root for the Nets when they were in the finals with Jason Kidd and them when they were still in New Jersey?
Nah, because they played against Kobe and Shaq. Back then, I was a big Shaq fan.
Shaq fan?
Yeah. At that time, now I'm not a Shaq fan. Not at all.
Why?
I mean, I feel like at the time it was just cool to be a Lakers fan. I'm 29, so when that was going on, I was probably like in like elementary school, so it was just cool. But now, I love KG. Like that's my favorite basketball player ever. Like I felt like the energy and emotion that he brought to that would be my dream to meet KG one day. Like,
oh, so are you this generation where you just follow? You're more into players and teams?
No, my team Celtics. That's it. But a player that I once tried to emulate, a player that inspired me, that made me want to go play basketball was Kevin Garnett.
So was you a KG fan before he was on the Celtics?
No. I was a KG fan, like Timberwolves. I was there for the Timberwolves when he went to the Western Conference Finals. I was there for that part.
And you know, they talk about robbed MVPs. Kevin Garnett should have had more MVPs.
This is what I'm saying, right? It's like,
man, if you go back and look at those Timberwolves teams, and they kept knocking him for losing in the first round of the playoffs, man, they should have been singing his praises to the rafters for getting them teams to the playoffs in the Western Conference. That was some loaded ass Western Conference, and his teams with some sauce.
Exactly, and then you saw you saw how good he was when he got to the Celtics. As soon as he gets there, him and Ray Allen, boom, you get a championship.
So man, that one team where like Wally Zerbiak was the second best player when he was like thoroughly washed, like he couldn't. Man, that motherfucker couldn't guard shit.
Yeah,
like, it didn't even matter if he scored 45. The dude against him would score 55.
It didn't
man,
matter.
I was amazed. Man, Kevin Garnett was so good that year. And I think I want to say it was 2006. If I could be wrong. And it was a little bit before. It was further before he went to the Celtics than that. And he didn't even make none of the All NBA teams. And I thought low key he might have been the best player in the league that year.
Bro, Kevin Garnett, it was one of the first players that I saw that can do everything. He could pass, he could shoot. His mid-range was on point, phenomenal, tenacious defender. There's nothing that he couldn't do, bro. And he could even hit the three from time to time. But
they didn't give him the defensive recognition like that, like he deserved until he had that Boston myth-making machine behind him now.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he got his respect, and he's top 100 all time. Yeah, and then some.
You saw him cut gems?
Nah, I didn't even see that. You know what's crazy? Somebody mentioned
that's insane, bro.
Yeah, I know. I feel terrible as a KG fan. I haven't watched it. You know what? I'm gonna watch it this weekend just for you bringing that up.
And it has basketball footage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. But you know what's crazy? I know he's about to drop. He's about to drop something on Showtime, I believe. I don't know what it's called, but I saw the trailer for it. I'm looking forward to that. But Uncut Gems, I'm definitely gonna watch that.
So who are you more like you 29? So the Biggie and Tupac shit, that's probably not even that big of a debate to you, huh?
Nah, not for nothing. I mean, it's like something that if you were growing up in New York, you got to engage in that debate at least 50 times in your life. That's right. at minimum. So for me, I'm a huge Pac fan. Huge Pac fan. No disrespect to Biggie at all, but
yeah, I don't see why I gotta be an either or.
That's how people see it. Yeah. That's us.
I never saw it at the time. You know, bro. You remember when 50 and Cam started beefing for that hot minute, and like people around me was like either getting rid of their G-Unit mixtapes or getting rid of the Dipset mixtape. I'm like, what the fuck? Shit, I still like all that shit.
Yeah. No, you could like both sides. Definitely, like you should. I mean, they were both fucking great.
Was that 50 shit the biggest thing you've seen in New York?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I wasn't sure how that ASAP hit.
No, ASAP was big, but 50 was just, it's a different, like, I remember being in 4th or 5th grade and sixth grade and Get Rich or Die Trying. Like I remember that moment. Like
Oh, I'm sure.
everybody, that's when iPods was first starting to pop. Everybody either had a Walkman or iPad. I mean, or iPod.
And that's all you heard. Coming out every car. I was going to New York frequently at that time.
Oh yeah, in every car, radio station, you hearing the old heads on the block blasting it on the radio. That was just a moment that I don't think could be recreated. I don't.
You know what's funny? I remember I was in New York like 3 days because remember how that they had to release that album early because it was getting bootlegged. And I was in New York that weekend, and just not for nothing. Not even nobody knew. It's just like 3 old heads standing around, right? And somebody drove by. Wankster was playing, right? And when I say old heads, they was probably like my age now. They're probably younger than I am now. I'm 43. And they was like, man, I like that old 50 Cent shit before he started selling out. I'm like, damn, this band barely got an album out, you know?
That's crazy. Damn, that's wild.
I mean, you know, I was in Queens. They probably been hearing them since like I don't know if he was ever Boo Boo on the mixtapes, but you know, it's, a lot of motherfuckers knew him.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I mean, when you think about it like that, yeah, but a lot of people like me, like I got introduced to 50 Cent with Get Rich or Die Trying. That's how I found out.
What are you listening to now?
Shit. Right now I'm a huge Meek Mill fan. I'm a huge Rick Ross fan.
See, I gotta give you huge pushback on that.
Okay, talk to me.
I've never said that on this show before. So, you know, because obviously if I could get a Maybach music artist on here, that would definitely behoove me. But I feel some kind of way. Did you know that Rick Ross was on an Eric Sermon album as Teflon the Don?
No, I did not know that.
Like well before he would have been the correctional officer. And he was kind of rapping on like some Tribe Called Quest type shit. And that might be just because he was around Eric Sermon. And, you know, for that type of plug in the industry, you probably get with it. And there must have been some gangster shit because his name was Teflon the Don. It was spelled TEPHLON. Anyone wants to verify this shit. It's a feature on a Retail Eric Sermon album. You can hear him. And then at some point, he was a ghostwriter and artist at Suave House and Slip and Slide. People forget there's a Trina video where he's in like the passenger seat with her, and he got a verse on the song that's way before Every Day I'm Hustling.
Oh wow!
But at some point at this time, and you know, I've sat in these cages and solitaries and all this shit. Some point at this time, he's sitting there, he's listening to people and taking notes of their story because there's no way in fuck he was ever a drug kingpin.
Okay.
And taking notes from their pain and then going out in the world and making millions with it. And not only that, saying stupid ass shit like moving dope on the iPhone on a commercial single to impressionable kids who probably then think that, yo, you can move dope on an iPhone. And yeah, you can move dope on an iPhone until they decide they want to come arrest you.
Yeah, facts.
And I feel some kind of way about that. I don't feel that shit is right.
See,
and that being said, though, amazing fucking music. Okay. So good to even feeling that way. Some of the shits like his guest verse on the Jim Jones, the last Jim Jones shit is amazing. You know, Mad at Them albums was amazing. I mean, just amazing music, undeniable fucking music. I can't front on that.
And I think this is an interesting context because like you said, like you went to prison and stuff like that. Like, so you may be internalizing his music a little bit differently. Like when he's saying these things that could be leading people down the wrong path, and he's taking people's, like you said, pain and turning it into profit, right? Like his name, Rick Ross, like that's somebody else's entire life story. But I think for the average consumer, they just see it as like, I'd like to compare it to like a painter. If I'm a painter and I paint something on the wall, you can always separate the art from the painter, right? The painter is somebody who he lives his own lifestyle.
Well, here comes the systemic racism.
Go ahead.
The average consumer of a rap CD is a white female under the age of 20. You don't think from what she's been taught about a black man is she doesn't think that Rick Ross is an expert on drugs?
I could care less. That's
But now, well, bear me out though.
I'm listening.
Let me go all the way downstream with it. Let me fully unpack it. So then she's gonna believe that you can move dope on the iPhone.
Mhm.
And then she's gonna be listening to that in the presence of young men who are gonna believe that they can move dope on the iPhone.
Mhm.
And regardless of race, gender, color, creed, ethnicity, diverse, I don't want to see nobody go to prison for drugs.
Facts. No. Now, when you put it like that, absolutely. But fantasizing drugs is
like if he wants to play an act, that's fine, but don't be
Mhm.
irresponsible with it.
Mm-hmm. But then now we got to go back to the freedom of speech, right?
He perfectly has the right to do it.
Okay.
I said I felt it's wrong. I didn't feel like he should be silenced.
Okay. Then that's fair. But like you said, the music is dope.
I mean, the people vote with their dollar. I mean, yeah, I'm not on no we should silence Rick Ross or boycott Rick Ross.
Okay.
I just feel some kind of. I mean, I feel if you think something is wrong, the best way to fight it is to present what's right.
Oh, absolutely. The best way to fight,
not to silence it.
Yeah, the best way to fight bad speech is with great speech. That's the best way.
Because if I tell my kids not to do something and don't give them no reason, they're more likely to be like, let me go see what that's about. But if I sit there and I tell them something intellectually and objectively that they can digest, it's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that shit. Mm-hmm. Like I tell my kids, don't smoke weed until you're at least 18 or 19 because it hinders your brain development until your brain is fully formed. Mm-hmm. And you want to have every weapon you can in this world.
So I got a question for you then, based off of the whole Rick Ross thing. So being that you don't like the idea that he uses other people's pain for profit, how do you feel about just the hip hop industry in general? Whereas it started as we just partying, we chilling, we have a message that we want to get out.
I like hip hop music. I don't like the hip hop industry.
Okay.
I believe that good music can come from the hip hop industry, but I mean, the hip hop industry is in the business of Black Death. And Black Death is proven to be mighty fucking popular ever since the Chronic and Boys in the Hood came out. So until people stop voting with their dollar on Black Death, the hip hop industry is going to continue doing irresponsible things.
Yeah. I was just about to say, hip hop got gentrified, and that's what we don't like to talk about. It started as one thing. People saw that it could be profitable. They bought it out, flipped it, and made it a whole nother industry.
Well, hip hop, it should be a million different things, but the record and it is a million different things, and you can find a million different things. I mean, if you wanted to, I could say here. Anybody want to hear something redemptive? Look up Chika, Chika. But they present one thing with very few exceptions, and that is, I don't know if it's a crime, but that's just as fucked up as the Rick Ross shit. So for the most part, fuck the hip hop industry. But I love hip hop music.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like the industry in general just isn't. It's not ours. We don't own it. We don't have any say in it for the most part. I mean, we're getting there. Like a lot of people are starting their own labels, doing an independent route, not depending on the hip hop industry, quote unquote, to be put on. So I think in 2021, it's not as strong as it used to be, but it is still a conglomerate.
Another example is systemic racism. You think it's accidental that the most famous black rap label owner is also the biggest boogeyman in the history of rap music?
What you mean by that?
Suge Knight.
Oh, okay.
Like you'll find 50 stories crucifying Suge Knight, then before you'll find 5 stories uplifting somebody like Tech N9ne and Strange Music.
That's fair. Yeah, I got no debate on that. I mean, but that's all part of the conglomerate. That's what they do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's like, so I don't really like the hip hop industry. I don't think the record industry in general is conducive to producing the best music.
Yeah,
that's why every time there's an outlier, somebody with some new revolutionary shit, be it a Billie Eilish or 50 Cent at the time or whatever, it's always somebody that comes from outside the system or a Chance the Rapper. Name the last time somebody came from within the system and really, really changed shit.
Yeah.
I mean, even Jay-Z had to come through a different angle.
So do you think that streaming helped in that regard, being that pretty much anybody could just put out music now, being that it could be streamed?
I mean, it helps some people. It definitely helped more people be able to become working musicians, but I think it probably took a lot of people that were at the ceilings earning potential down, but it raised the floor for much more people. Like it's kind of like the NBA, like the NBA Players Association. Almost all the decisions is made by the elite players, and they favor the elite players, like those max contracts and shit. When in reality, they should be going more towards the proletariat of the NBA players, because most of them are the journeymen, the guys, the 5 through 15 guys. And I kind of think the streaming leveled the playing field for the amateur musician, but those that were already pros probably saw some income loss. But I think ultimately it'll be a good thing, because it's a place that you can find alternatives. Because sometimes you might want to hear some, like, I grew up in the DC area during crack. I could relate to the fucking shit I was hearing. Sometimes I want to hear music like that.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be my only choice. So on streaming, I can go listen to Chica, I can listen to Chance, I can go listen to some old Rolling Stones shit, I can listen to Etta James. So I mean, having all that in my pocket at any given time has to be a good thing.
No, I mean that's great. Because I was always like against like streaming. I mean, I'm not really against it. I'm just not for it, because I feel like it takes away money from the artist's pockets, in the sense that like streaming doesn't pay you shit. So it's like I'm a huge advocate for buying albums still. Like I think that we definitely need to support artists by buying their music, because streaming is just not enough.
Well, back to the economic empowerment, they can't use the streams as their only means of income. They got to use the streams to piggyback merch, maybe boutique vinyl runs, depending on what their audience is. Yeah, as a sole method, that would be terrible.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why I feel like the idea of like streaming is good for the reasons that you just named. Like it definitely can help like some of the artists on the rise distribute their music a little bit easier. But at the same time, it's like,
well, they're not being aggressive enough with it either, bro. Like they build up a fan base. Let's say you build up a 10,000 person fan base, right? And your single's gonna come out on Spotify and Apple and all that on Friday. Well, if you got 10,000 people that are supporting every song you have released, why not have it available for $1 on your website on Thursday? And then even if only 300 people buy it, if you do that once a week, that's extra $1,200 a month for nothing.
Yeah, I remember Nipsey Hussle said he used to do something called Proud to Pay, I think it was called. And he would literally take like, well, I don't want to say it the wrong way, but basically what I think he would do is take like a project or something and just sell it for probably like $100.
Yeah, he did one for 100, and then he did one for 1,000.
Exactly, and the people who could afford
it,
it,
you could stream it for free.
Exactly. Like everybody on every level can get it, and some people will pay more and just be proud to support you. And I think artists should develop that strategy, but I don't think that a lot of them believe that they can do it.
Man, you 29, bro. Like, man, what if your destiny was like by the time you're 34, you're gonna think of some unique ass way to combine some way to generate revenue off music with the streaming. And like you're like the world's biggest music mogul.
That'll be something I never anticipated, because I've never thought about the music industry or music business as something that I was fit to be in.
Well, for somebody who's never thought of it, those was like 5 sound ideas in a row you just did.
I appreciate that. I mean, maybe I might consider it. You never know. Maybe this conversation needed to happen so that way it could ring the light bulb in my head.
Well, I mean, where you're at, there's definitely people trying to become financially independent through music. There's no question of that. And, a lot of them are wasting their time. But sometimes they waste their time because they got a little buzz, but they never actually made any money off of it. And because they really didn't know how to monetize it.
And that, again, coming back to knowledge. If you don't know what you're doing, it don't matter what type of buzz you got. There's people that's out there that got maybe 1 million streams on YouTube and don't know what they're doing, because they'll take it and they'll do whatever monetization they'll get off YouTube. They won't know what to do with that money.
Would you be able to assist somebody who had recently had a YouTube, a series of videos get over 1 million views, figure out ways to get sponsors on it and things of that nature? Do you have those capabilities?
Nah, that's not really my field. I've never managed like an artist or anything.
No, not you wouldn't be managing them. Just like they don't even necessarily have to be an artist. It could be somebody doing a cooking show.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible. That's what I'm trying to do for our podcast now. Taking the money that we have going into the company, using that and putting it towards marketing, towards promotion, towards studio time, towards making the podcast better. Like that's all just money management.
Right.
And then once you know how to do that, then it'll help your platform grow.
Word.
Yeah.
Well, shit,
So to answer
before
your
we-
question, yeah.
Shit, I might need to talk to you at some point then. But shit, before we get out here, where can they find you? Please plug all your podcasts, all your projects, everything you're doing.
Appreciate that. You can find me on Instagram at James Motivates, JAMES Motivates. You can also find our podcast called 40 Central, 40 Central, all one word on YouTube. Type in 40 Central on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can continue to get some raw content.
And man, that was incredibly thought provoking, man. I really enjoyed that. Thank you for your time, and I hope we can have you on again down the line.
Yeah, bro. You can come on our podcast too, bro. We gotta definitely set that up.
Anytime, I'm ready.
All right, bet. So I'm gonna talk with my guys, and then we'll set something up.
All right, man. Like I said, thank you for your time, and have a good night.
Likewise, bro. You too.
All right, super facts, everybody. Thank you.